Welcome. Scott here. I will be covering on the upcoming Heretics event, Distorted Providence. The featured banner units for the event are Alphinaud from Final Fantasy XIV, Wakka from Final Fantasy X, Chimera from Final Fantasy Type 0 and Siren from Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles. Alphinaud LD will be making its debut. He and Wakka will be getting their C90 Awakening and reworks. We will be fighting the two Chimera Golem, which has 14 million HP each. The bosses strong resist fire and thunder. They are weak against magic and they are immune to the burn debuff. The turn requirement for the fight is 60 and the HP requirements is 10,000. Before I continue further, here is a small disclaimer clause for the video. The guide is written based on the time that the event was released for the Japanese version. Please do note that it is possible that the boss fight mechanics might differ when the actual event is released in global. Firstly, let's go through the LUFENIA plus orb conditions. This is a very tight and restrictive orb. The orb will trigger at the start of the fight at the orb count of 6. It is a non-cancelable orb. Every action taken by your party will downtick the orb by 1. The LUFENIA orb countdown ability, Trinty Hurricane, is not fatal. However, the penalties caused by the attack could potentially be a game ender if you didn't manage it properly. The countdown ability is a guaranteed hit attack that will cleanse all debuffs from the boss and dispel all your buffs. The attack will inflict 2 debuffs, Petrify and Poison for 3 turns and Burn for 2 turns. Petrify will prevent your characters from acting until they are KO or broken. Poison will drain your character's Brave. Burn will inflict a 10% max HP poison. When your characters are petrified, Echo Rebirth Flame won't get triggered. As all characters are petrified, it could result into a game over trigger status. To uptick the orb, you need to deal HP poison on the boss. To date in global, there are only 3 units that can inflict HP poison. The featured unit, Alphinaud, can inflict HP poison on his LD ability for 4 turns. The poison will trigger on every field turn and it also works as an LDCA. Lots of JP player uses it as an LDCA in order to do boss no turn strategies. Ida can inflicts HP poison on her S2, Touch of Death, for 3 turns. However, like other sap and poison mechanics, the boss needs to take a turn for the HP poison to take effect. X-Death can inflicts HP poison on his S2, Almagest and LD Maelstrom. It also works as an LDCA as well. Both HP poison debuffs last for 3 turns and it will require the boss to take a turn for the HP poison to take effect. X-Death BT Aura also inflicts HP poison for 3 turns. It will trigger on every field turn. However, it was noted in JP that it doesn't work at the start of the event due to bug issues. So, there is a possibility the BT Aura doesn't work when the event is released. If you have a fully kit X-Death or Alphinaud, do consider setting them as friend support for the event. As boss don't have a big HP pool or any game ending mechanics, it is also possible to finish them off before the orb expired. Now let's proceed with some party setup recommendations. Recommended calls abilities. To ensure that you are able to constantly break them, it is important to inflict defense down debuffs. Example of calls abilities that inflict defense down calls are Ferris, Titus, Jack, and Vanille. Ferris Enchanting Dance debuff is very useful here as it will help to keep the boss Brave in check. To speed up the fight, using HP damage up debuff calls like Chimera, Gabranthe, Lily-Set, Fran, Maria, and Ignis are useful. Although a bit trickier to use, Aura type HP damage up calls like Sid and Chimera are also viable. Most recently C90 units have HP damage up bonus in the form of Aura. You can use Dissidia DB Call Finder to find out more. As mentioned previously, in order to uptick the orb, you need to inflict HP poison. Alphinaud LDCA and both X-Death calls will work for the calls. Next, I will be covering units that will be useful to handle the fight mechanics. Like other LUFENIA Plus events, it is always recommended to bring supports for their aura and buffs. They are Garnet, Leela, Echo, Ramza, Purim, Setzer, Agrias, Kate Sith, Queen, Ishtala, Bartz, Rem, Lyud, and Sarah. Garnet or Ramza BT plus support will help to trivialize the fight that you could finish the fight a lot faster. If you are using Leela, you will need Alphinaud LD poison effect. Echo's LUFENIA Orb ignore mechanics might be hampered, but she is still a decent support option for the fight. The fight features some mechanics that will result to the boss taking turns. Unless you are doing full evasion strategy involving Leela, damage mitigation will make the fight easier to ensure your party are safe from any stray HP attacks. Options include Snow, Core, Gladiolus, Warrior of Light, Beatrix, Orin, Zack, Guy, Bash, and 9. To uptick the orb, you just need to bring one of the 3 units that have HP poison in their kit. Other than Alphinaud LD and X-Death BT HP poison, other HP poison debuffs will need the boss to take a turn to get them triggered. Do note that HP attacks from other forms of debuffs or traps won't work. But those units are still useful for the off-turn damage. As the duration of the HP poison debuffs is limited, it is best to finish up the fight fast. You can consider the following options. They are Machina, Laguna, Cloud, Noctis, Garnet, Cloud of Darkness, Selpha, Enacross, Vaughn, Sid Rains, Siren, and Locke. As the boss gains a yellow aura that gives the boss 999% brave damage resistances at the 79% and 19% HP thresholds, gravity or instant break could be a very useful utility to have. They are X-Death, Bartz, Noel, Strago, Maria, and Kais. You can also prevent the yellow aura from triggering if the boss is under Do Not Act status. They are Shantato, Agrias, Cloud, Wakka and Fang. On the screen, you will see a timeline showing the HP thresholds triggers that you need to watch out for. The boss gains LUFENIA aura at the following thresholds: start of the fight and 49% HP threshold. The boss will activate a yellow aura, Body of Steel at the 79% and 19% HP thresholds. The aura will allow the boss gains 999% brave damage resistance. They also framed their turns where they will become immune to delay and delay from breaks. The aura will dispel when the boss HP drops to 74% and 19%. Even your brave hits are doing ones, you should be still able to do HP damage with brave gains. Throughout the fight, the boss will switch its heads as it takes its turn. Every single head has their own colored auras. It will start off from goat to lion to dragon before returning back to goat. At the 69% HP threshold, it will activate Quick Shift where it will change its head mode every turn it takes. As long as you are able to keep the boss brave under controlled, you just need to watch out for the dragon head mode for its AoE Sandstorm HP attack. At the 49% HP threshold, the boss will activate Heaven's Cry where will insert its turn after the unit that it targeted for 3 turns. Due to the effect, the boss will also gain an instant turn after that inserted turn. Overall, this isn't a hard fight as the real enemy is the orb. Depending the HP poison options that you have, it will be a deciding factor on the team comps that you can put for the fight. I will discuss this more on the later slides. Now let's proceed with the boss mechanics proper. Like the previous LUFENIA Plus fights, the boss will gain big stats boosts, brave damage, and brave gain reduction auras when you deplete their HP to a certain threshold. The thresholds trigger for this fight is at the start of the fight and 49% HP thresholds. At the start of the fight, it will boost all its defenses by 200%. At 49% HP threshold, it will further boost its defense to 300%. The maximum brave damage reduction auras is 70%. The maximum brave gain reduction auras are 70%. To handle the defense stats boost, you can inflict defense down calls. To handle the brave gain and brave damage reduction auras, you can use brave damage up debuffs like Jack, Sephiroth, or deploy a support with brave damage up like Lena. Rem is an example of a few supports that provide brave gain up. Now let's look into the key boss mechanics. The boss will activate its yellow aura, Body of Steel, at the following two thresholds, 79% and 19%. When the aura is activated, they will gain the following properties. 1. The boss will gain 999% brave damage resistance. 2. The boss will frame its turn where it will become immune to delay and delay from breaks. To dispel the aura, you need to deplete their HP down to 74% for the 79% HP threshold trigger and 14% for the 19% HP threshold trigger. You can prevent the aura from trigger if the boss is under Do Not Act status. You can prevent boss actions by inflicts, paralysis or confusion debuffs. Options include Shant Auto, Agrias, Cloud, and Fang. You can also bring Rama's Summon for the cause. You can also prevent boss from acting by inflicting HP silence debuffs when the boss is in the dragon mode. If you are giving them turns when the auras are activated, as you can't shave their brave control debuffs are useful for the fight. Options include Setzer, Arsila, Yuffie, Kater and Wakka. Units like Alphinaud, Maria, Bencred and Seymour all have very potent forms of sap and poison debuffs that could drain off the boss brave gains in an instant. Now let's proceed to talk more about the mode change cycle. Throughout the fight, the boss will switch its heads as it takes its turn. Every single head has their own colored auras. It will start off goat to lion to dragon before returning back to goat. You can easily distinguish the color of the aura when the boss head mode is active. Both goat and lion don't have any HP attacks, but the boss will trigger the HP attack if its brave is high. So they are pretty much harmless in those modes as long as you kept their brave in check. The boss will use Sandstorm, an AoE brave plus HP attack when it is in dragon mode. The boss will activate Quick Shift once its HP drop to 69%, where it will change its mode after every turn. The boss will activate Heaven's Cry, where the boss will insert their turn after the targeted unit's turn. It will also gain an instant turn after that inserted turn. This effect will last for 3 boss turns. I have come to the last slide of the guide. Let's recap what we have covered on the early parts of the guide. Although the LUFENIA Orb Countdown ability is not fatal, it is a potentially game ender. The debuffs are guaranteed hit, where the boss will cleanse all debuffs and inflict turn disable debuffs. To uptick the orb, you need to inflict HP poison debuffs. They are Alphinaud, Ada and X Death. Do note that trap debuffs doesn't work to uptick the orb. Other than Alphinaud's LD poison or X Death BT poison, all other forms of HP poison will require boss to act to trigger. If you are going with a hit and counter setup, you bring either one of the HP poison 3 units or using them as a call. Only Alphinaud LDCA and both X Death calls inflicts HP poison. If you are doing boss no turns with delays and launches, you need to use one of the field's turn HP poison options, Alphinaud LD debuff or X Death BT aura. If you have a fully kit Alphinaud or X Death, do consider set up them as your friend support to help the community. It is possible to do an orb ignore run where you can nuke the boss to death within 6 orb actions. An example of the team is Ramza, Reigns and Selfie. I believe that other content creators will be able to do more variety of such runs when the event comes to global. So do check them out. With this, we have come to the end of the boss guide. Thank you for watching the video. If you like the video, please do give the video a like. Please do subscribe to my channel for future similar content. Bye.